countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The fabulous FF face the most powerful foe of all! If this be doomsday, Galactus has landed on Earth. Any additional words of ours would simply pale beside the awesome portent of that one staggering phrase. Galactus has landed on Earth! And humanity itself totters on the brink of doomsday!
Galactus has seen the Watcher.
They act like they know each other!
Stay back! Anything can happen.
He's a giant! He seems to be power personified! Reed, what will happen to us?
You ask me. That bozo looks like he could pulverize the Watcher with his eyes shut.
And then Galactus speaks.
So, 'twas you who conspired to hide this paltry world from the eyes of Galactus. Know you not that none may thwart my will?
Heed my words, pillager of the planets! This tiny speck of matter upon which we stand contains intelligent life. You must not destroy it!
Of what import are brief, nameless lives to Galactus?
See how he ignores us? As though we're of no consequence!
Can it really be? Does he actually mean to attack the entire human race?
As big as he is, no swell-headed clown is gonna talk about us that way. It's clobbering time!
Yes, and things clobbering time didn't work until it did work halfway through the book series where he ripped off the top and then made Galactus rebuild the machine.
What? It's true! It's the Last Comic Shop podcast, if you don't already know. I'm the host with the most, Danny Larson, and I was joined by Jay Scott, Chad Smith, and the wonderful Nicole Larson, who played not only Sue Storm in our little rendition of that classic beginning from issue 49 of this particular epic storyline from Stan and Jack from the original Fantastic Four, but you also played the Watcher to great effect, which I thought was awesome.
I was waiting for her to break into her young romance voice.
She will not be joining us for the rest of this podcast, but you can hear Nicole on a various other episodes. But as J.A. pointed out, we do have not only a movie review for this week's show, it's going to be Fantastic Four First Step. That is going to be later in the episode, because this is pretty much kind of the same storyline, at least from all the trailers. That's what we've been led to believe, other than the fact that they gender swapped the Silver Surfer. This is pretty much the coming of Galactus that we're going to see in this first step. So without further ado, Chad, who did these particular issues of Fantastic Four?
All right, so I'm going to crib my credits straight from issue 48, The Coming of Galactus. It's Stan Lee, writer without peer. Jack Kirby, penciler of the year. Joe Sinnott, inker most sincere. And Artie Simic, how'd he get in here?
Any case. But yeah, those are the folks that worked on these three issues. Now, again, I don't think there were any other inkers throughout the other issues.
No, Joe Sinnott is famous for being the Fantastic Four guy.
But again, let's get with that 10-cent synopsis. It'll probably be very similar to the 10-cent synopsis you get for the movie, but we'll see. J.A., what happens in these three issues?
Okay, so it starts out, the Skrulls see the Silver Surfer flying through the spaceways and make their entire planetary system disappear so that he goes by them. In his attempt to stop the Silver Surfer from coming to Earth, the Watcher stops watching and starts doing. Turns the atmosphere into fake fire.
Yeah, because people were freaked out by the fire.
There was not a lot of thought put into the not by the writers, but the Watcher not putting a lot of thought into maybe if I put the entire sky on fire, that's not going to freak everybody out. And then Johnny Storm, who's literally the Human Torch, saying, let me go see what's going on. The sky is on fire and you're a man made of fire. Maybe you going out is not the best option.
Yikes.
Yeah. Did the thing start jumping around when all the stones were in the air? Come on now. He stayed put on the ground. He did the smart thing.
It turns out that all of this was the Watcher trying to stop the Silver Surfer from coming to Earth. He comes to Earth. He lands on the Baxter Building, which is what we call in the movie business good timing.
Serendipitous.
Serendipity. I like that better. And sends out a signal to Galactus before being knocked down and off the building by the thing. Nobody bothers to follow up where he fell, by the way. It's Manhattan. Galactus comes and decides that he's going to eat the Earth because that's what Galactus does. And he doesn't care about the people because they're beneath him. There's no emotion on this. He's just, I need to eat. They're ants.
And literally, he's very tall. Very tall.
He's a big guy. There is a moment, as we alluded to in the opening, where him and the Watcher are facing off, and all the little people are watching. And then the Silver Surfer has a moment with Alicia Masters, where she tells him all about humanity, and he decides that he wants to fight his boss.
And I should have interjected, the Watcher, also a very big guy, not a little guy. So the little people watching, not the Watchers. The Watcher, big guy in a toga, same size as Galactus. So anyway, sorry, that was a late interjection. Carry on.
The Watcher, who his whole thing is like, I'm not going to interfere, does a lot of interfering. Sends Johnny Storm off to this weird dimension to get the ultimate nullifier. At the same time, the rest of the Fantastic Four, now the Fantastic Three, are doing their best to try to fight off Galactus. Galactus brings down the Punisher, which is like a short little robot thing that kicks the crap out of everybody.
Named Frank Castle. Wait, no. Different Punisher.
Different Punisher. The Silver Surfer then shows back up because he's discovered humanity and why it is wrong to kill people who have thought in their minds. I don't think he goes into why nothing that's alive should die. He's like, these people are thinking people, so they shouldn't die. But I think he gets to that whole thing that Galactus should go just suck up a planet that doesn't have life on it, maybe. That doesn't work, but it slows Galactus down from consuming the Earth. I feel like I'm going on and on at this, by the way.
Yeah, this is a solid 50 cents at this point. Maybe
there's a lot of sense here.
There's a lot of
sense in the story.
And
sense in the synopsis.
Human Torch comes back with the ultimate nullifier. He gives it to Mr. Fantastic, who then uses his stretchy arm to stretch it all the way up into Galactus's face and say, leave the planet and I'll give this back to you.
Yeah, he holds up at gunpoint.
Yeah, but then he says, but I'll give you the gun, because once Galactus says he will leave, his word is bond. And then we get like 5 pages of exposition to set up the next 20 issues or something of Johnny Storm going to college and Wyatt Wingfoot and this asshole quarterback who the coach doesn't like.
As Andy will tell you, not in the version he read.
That's true. Me and Chad, we read the Treasury edition, which you can find hopefully at one of your local comic book shops, which they edit all that jazz out of it. There's actually in issue 48, there's stuff that like carried over from this Inhuman story that was in the previous issues. And so you get a little of that if you read it in the Marvel Masterworks or any of the other types. But in this Treasury...
The main storyline. Okay, no, I read it in the Marvel Penguin edition, which I highly recommend because the colors are so muted and beautiful.
Oh, well, if you want muted and beautiful, then you should check out the Treasury edition because it's all that crap paper.
I was going to say, I read it both in the Omnibus edition where the colors are not muted and beautiful, but it has all the pages. And then I read it in the Treasury edition where they correct the colors on Galactus because he shows up in 6 different outfits in this issue. Like different color schemes. But they do correct it in the Treasury edition. But they're different experiences all throughout. Whatever format you're going to get this in, you're getting something else.
In the Penguin, they don't color correct. He's purple in some and he's green in some.
And he's pink and like, but you do know that Galactus isn't actually a physical entity, right? He is how whoever, is seeing him perceives him. So only humanity perceives him as this dude with the giant antler helmet.
Sometimes they perceive him wearing pants and sometimes they don't.
Sometimes he's a giant squirrel.
There's a lot going on in these particular 3 issues of the Fantastic Four. So,
Which I want to say, yes. How much goes on in just 3 issues? That's like a 12-issue arc in today's writing, is it?
Oh, if this were Hickman, this would be 3 years. He'd abandon it halfway through and have Jerry Duggan finish the rest.
but even to that point, it's technically not even 3 issues. I mean, half of 48 and then kind of like maybe 3/4 of 50. So I would say it's kind of more like 2, maybe 2 and a quarter issues that this whole coming of Galactus. And again, Stan Lee went to Jack Kirby and said, I want the Fantastic Four to meet God. Can we do this? Can we do this as a story? And Jack Kirby went away. He came up with Galactus. He came up with this whole story, and they wrote it. It made comic book history.
And came up with, by himself, I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for this, the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
That is Jack Kirby. That is not Stan Lee.
Well, that was a point of contention with Jack Kirby later on, because the particular Silver Surfer that you get in this particular issue is a different kind of Silver Surfer than you get almost anywhere else. He's kind of got a blank slate in terms of a personality. He's not that noble Jesus type character, because that was all Stan Lee. Stan Lee and John Buscema from Silver Surfer issue 1, where they made him Norrin Rad.
And they gave him Shala Bowl in the backstory.
Yeah. That all comes from Stan Lee's influence. Jack Kirby, if he would have had his way with Silver Surfer, we could have got a completely different Silver Surfer, more akin to maybe even Black Racer from New Gods.
Oh, you're playing right into my recommendation.
Well, I was going to say, too, because I had heard the stories of, normally with the Marvel method, Stan Lee would sit down with his artists and come up with a plot, talk about it or whatever, and then the artists would go out and do it. In this one, it was just Stan Lee told Jack, the Fantastic Four fights God, right? And this is what Jack gave him. And so for my initial thoughts here, like, man, is this wordy? Like, in 3 issues or 2.5 issues or however many issues you want to parse it out to be, there is a lot going on. And I'll be honest, like, I'm always a little intimidated by the old school Fantastic Four books. Like, I actually bought the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th omnibus because I know on an academic level, the Stan and Jack Fantastic Four is like some of the best of comic books. But whenever I would sit down and read them, like, there's so much there. Sometimes it got kind of difficult for me. And the thing that actually helped me was knowing about the Marvel method and knowing the origins of this book. I would actually read it the first time around and just look at the pictures. Read the story that way. And then go back and see what Stan Lee added to it with his storytelling and the scripting and all the stuff that he added on top of the Jack Kirby art. It is a different experience, but it was something that was neat to go through that process. But like, if I didn't unlock it first with the Jack Kirby visuals, then the Stan Lee scripting, which sometimes can be, a little wacky, a little wonky here and there, but it wouldn't have had the impact that it did. The whole Fantastic Four experience, the trick is to not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by it because there's so much there. Like J.A. alluded to, if this were a modern story, it would take 4 years. It would span across 6 different titles, 14 different writers and artist combinations. No, that all happens in 3 issues here. Like, there is so much. I don't want to discount the things that Jack did. I don't want to discount the things that Stan did because they both added to it. But there are multiple ways you can experience this book. And I'm not just talking about the omnibus where sometimes Galactus doesn't wear pants versus the Treasury where Galactus sometimes does wear pants versus the Penguin editions where Galactus doesn't wear pants, but it has the page feel of the Treasury books and the original books that they were printed in. Like, there's so many different experiences to be had just from these 3 issues.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and that's why I honestly love it. I was really happy to revisit these 3 issues. I'm happy anytime we're able to revisit Silver Age comic books, because unlike some other folks that might show up on this show, I know Mikey Wood, when we have him on, he is extremely critical of Silver Age comics and how wordy they are, and I love them. And I especially love the Fantastic Four of this era just simply because this is how the Fantastic Four should be used, in my opinion. as we'll get to in my recommendation later, I love the Fantastic Four when they're the explorers, when they're the ambassadors, when they're not so much a superhero team, but the first folks.
Contact, sort of.
Yes.
First contact, yeah.
You've got Reed Richards, who's the smartest guy on the planet. You've got Sue Storm, who's one of the strongest superheroes on the planet. You've got the Thing, who never wants to give up. And then you've got the Human Torch, who brings that human quality to the interaction, I think. That combination just cannot be beat. Hey, we're going to talk to this dude, which in retrospect, I did eat planets that had people on them. Let's just throw that out there. Later on, they retcon that like Galactus had done this before. Oh yeah, no, this isn't the first time.
Oh, I didn't
This
know
is
that.
the first. This isn't the first time.
No, I didn't know that they retconned it. Of course he ate. The whole idea that Earthlings don't matter to Galactus is one of the greatest things about Galactus is like, I am just a power of the universe. You are beneath me. Hello, Galactus is, right?
Wait, that's the wrong guy. That's the wrong guy.
I know.
Yeah, but still, in this particular book, like Watcher goes out of his way to say, "Oh, you don't eat inhabited planets, Galactus," and Silver Surfer's like, "How dare you attack these souls?" and stuff like that. He did this before.
Well, no, it's Silver Surfer because Silver Surfer had his awakening when he
saw Alicia Masters. Yes, like he was like, he's like, "I feel how noble you are."
And that's why 140 some issues in, 130 issues into Volume 3, JMD Mateus, friend of the podcast, got them together. Yeah,
that's
boy.
true. But I love these issues. I remember reading these as far back as when I was 9, 10 years old. I don't know, just sucked in to this particular story. And it's weird to think of a Fantastic Four that like Galactus shows up and nobody else shows up. Like the Avengers aren't there, the X-Men aren't there, Spider-Man's not there, the Hulk's not there. Nobody's there. It's just the Fantastic Four and Galactus talking. And eventually Reed Richards sticking a gun and saying, "Get off my land." Which is, how dare you give a gun to a toddler here? What kind of irresponsible jerk are you, Watcher?
Yeah, which is true. I mean, Galactus does have a point. I need that mug. Galactus was right.
That's true. But before we get to ratings, I got to ask J.A. Silver Surfer, one of your favorite characters of all time. Galactus, another favorite of yours. What did you think going back and revisiting these issues?
Well, this is the first time I read it in the Penguin edition. So I had read it always it was just the truncated Galactus trilogy story. So it was weird that Inhuman bit and then like the 4 pages of college drama. I wasn't ready for that. It was like, that's a weird coda. I didn't need to know that Wyatt Wingfoot was going to shack up with Johnny Storm at college. Oh, it's wonderful. It's Jack Kirby at his creative height. Creature design, the photo collage page where he's using like a photostatic of different photos of things to create Galactus's machine. The ideas that he's, showing in a very, let's face it, very still limited sort of design framework that they had back then, where every panel had to be square. You didn't have these jaggedy panels. This wasn't the 90s. Tell all that in the Marvel method, and to create arguably my favorite character, but arguably one of the greatest Marvel characters, most interesting when written well in the Silver Surfer. And the idea of Galactus, it's dense though. Yes. Wow. If you don't like Silver Age Stan Lee wordiness, then just look at the pictures. If I could knock anything, and this is less to do with Stan Lee, I think it's just more to do with the time that it was written in. Invisible Girl, Sue Storm, Sue Richards at this point, I guess. She doesn't do a lot. They haven't given her Mama Bear power set quite yet. She disappears and she can build force fields, but she's not the badass that she will become.
And Reed is a total dick. Total dick. But that's of the time.
Not as bad as Cyclops in the 70s, but he's getting close.
But he does take a couple moments to shave. remember, we had to have that one scene where he transforms himself from the Reed Richards we all know with the beard, which I like. The stubble and the beard, that's always my favorite Reed Richards, when he looks like he's been in
That's
his
when
life.
it's serious. Yeah, he's been
when he has the grizzle.
So if Reed Richards can control his whole body as rubber, couldn't he just like suck in the follicles?
Shut up! He's serious. That's how you
All
know.
right, you know what? We have a movie review that people are waiting for. Let's get to ratings of these particular 3 issues of the Fantastic Four.
Well, we're gonna go with the greatest MacGuffin of all times, the Ultimate Nullifier.
It's true. That's got such a badass name. And I remember the Series 2 trading cards from the 90s.
Yes!
They were like power levels, and they were like Ultimate Nullifier, like off the charts. They were just like, what is this thing?
Exactly. Yes.
Imagine being Stan Lee and you're getting these pages, and like 2 pages earlier are Galactus and the Watcher like hashing it out in front of all this stuff, and then 3 pages later, and now Reed's shaving. What the hell are you gonna do with that? Like, that is great.
I'm going to go first, and I'm going to make this super simple. This is a 4. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't give these particular issues of Fantastic Four a 4, like, you're not going to give anything in the Fantastic Four a 4. Like, this is the best. This is one of their classic all-time greatest stories ever. And it shows, like, again, back to my point about the Fantastic Four being the explorers, being the ambassadors, being the ones to first talk to Galactus. I think that fits with the first family of the Marvel Universe, and it really drives home why the Fantastic Four are so important to the whole Marvel framework, that they can have stories like this, and that the big ideas that were coming out from Jan and Jack at this time were incredible. I mean, people don't forget that the next issue after this is This Man, This Monster, and then the next issue after that, they introduced the Black Panther. Like, come on. Like, talk about, like, creative output that would be used for decades after this. Like, stories that are being written at this time, we still are talking about and hold with such reverence. That, screw all of you that don't like Silver Age comics. This is a 4, damn it. Read it. That's all I got to say. Chad.
I was going to say, and you forget the issues before this were the Frightful Four with Sandman and Medusa, which led into the Inhumans. That's the thing that's so overwhelming about this. And, like, there are so many ideas that spring forth from Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. This truly is what makes Marvel great. This is the heart of Marvel Comics. And as big of a Spider-Man guy as I am, this just embodies so much of that, and how it goes from one giant wacky idea to the next giant wacky idea. Johnny Storm is going through space spaghetti that if he touches it, the unlife to touch this space spaghetti is to perish, but he's got to go back to get the big MacGuffin to come back to fight the giant guy who may or may not be wearing pants, depending on which version you're reading. And then Reed is going to have to shave, and Johnny's going to have to go to college. And then Reed's going to yell at Sue, like, be quiet, woman, I'm trying to think. And there's all that masochism, and all that, like, there's so much going on here, and it's so full, and it's so bursting of life, and so bursting with energy, and so bursting with all these technological ideas and photo collages, and it is so overwhelming, but in the best way. So yeah, as intimidated as I am sometimes with the wordiness of the Silver Age books, and like to mentally make an effort to dive in, like there are so many different ways you can read this. There's so many different ways you can experience this, but because of the ever overflowing ideas and prospects and characters, and it all works. It's all wonderful. It's all marvelous. And so it's a 4. 4 out of 4. It's great.
Yeah, this truly is a year of J.A. pick. I mean, it's a 4. How can it not be a 4? It introduces the Silver Surfer, my favorite character. It introduces Galactus. It is Stan and Jack at their absolute peak. Even the weird stuff is awesome. So I gushed about it in the 10-cent synopsis, which became a $1 synopsis because I just love this story so much. So I don't want to take everybody's time and just repeat what both of you have said. It's great. Go get a version. I recommend the Penguin version because you get those original colors and also the full story, but if you can find it in the omnibus, if you can find it in a trade paperback, if you can find it in a treasury edition, however you find it, read it. Because I was just thinking about it, with the movie coming out, which we are going to review right after this is the second time they're telling essentially the same story. We already had a Coming of Galactus Fantastic Four movie, so now we could see that story told again, maybe better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so timeless. And we'll get to that movie review right after these commercials. So stay tuned for more of The Last Comic Shop right after this.
Hey, it's Mikey Wood, frequent Last Comic Shop guest and collector. And as a collector, I'm always in need of boards, bags, long boxes, and more to house all those comics. That's why I use promo code LCSPOD to get 10% off my orders at bcwsupplies.com. Not only does it get me a discount on BCW's already low prices, but I know using LCSPOD at checkout is another way I can show my support to the Last Comic Shop podcast in their continuing mission to bring fans together under that big comic book tent. So if you're in need of comic book supplies, head out to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code LCSPOD today. That's LCSPOD.
Hey all, I'm Frank. Join me and my friends as we talk about all things geek. Here at Geek Freaks Podcast, we go over the weekly news of everything in geekdom, from movies to TV, video games, and comic books. We also have a growing YouTube community. Join us as we go over everything in your geek life and share in the love of geekdom.
All right, we're back with more Last Comic Shop, and it is not time for your movie review just yet. We forgot that we have to give you recommendations. Yes, that time of every single show where we make you wait just for a few more minutes because it's important to talk about more comic books. So make sure that you're picking up the Fantastic Four 48, 49, and 50 and that wide variety of formats, but also pick up some of these things, starting with JA's pick, which is...
Just like the movie is now a retelling of The Coming of Galactus, I'm going to be recommending another retelling of The Coming of the Galactus. This is The Silver Surfer, The Ultimate Cosmic Experience. It was a graphic novel that originally was published in 1978. It's the last time Stan Lee and Jack Kirby worked together. So it's got that going for it. The Silver Surfer and Galactus come to Earth. There's no Fantastic Four. Earth is just Earth. There are no human superheroes on Earth. So Galactus, his mind is changed to not eat Earth by the Silver Surfer alone, who gives up being a herald, and then Galactus leaves and goes into a funk because he doesn't have his herald, so he calls his Master of Guile, which is this Desaad-like character, who then tells him, well, the way you get the Silver Surfer back is through love. So Galactus creates this woman to go back to Earth and woo the Silver Surfer. She kind of looks like Nova. I think this is where they got the idea of Frankie Ray Nova from. She's all golden and whatnot. She goes back to Earth and woos him, falls in love with her, but then he's such a pure heart that he's able to change her mind. Galactus then absorbs her and gives him the ultimatum, I will kill you, but to kill you, so that he can live in heaven with his woman, I have to kill Earth, or you come back and work for me, and I will spare Earth. So he goes back and he works for Galactus, giving up his soul and, falling on his sword the way the Silver Surfer does. The art is incredible. It is the Silver Surfer, one could say, that's closer to what Jack Kirby was thinking when he originally created the character, before Stan Lee took it with the Silver Surfer comic book and John Buscema and did the whole backstory. So none of that exists in this. There's no Fantastic Four. It's just Galactus, Silver Surfer, this Nova-like character, and this Desaad-like character. And it's incredible. Last time Stan Lee and Jack Kirby worked together.
Yeah, I have not read that. If memory serves, that was supposed to be like a movie treatment. That's back when Stan was shopping around all the Marvel properties. And that was the purpose of that one. It wasn't an in-continuity thing. It was its own separate. But it sounds fascinating, dude. I really do need to check that out.
With my recommendation this week, we're going to talk about some more Stan and Jack collaborations. And again, because I was reading these issues of Fantastic Four, it made me want to revisit earlier issues of Fantastic Four. So there's one particular one which again goes to my point about I love the Fantastic Four when they're the explorers, the ambassadors, the first ones doing things on behalf of the Earth. So I'm going to go back to issue 13 of the Fantastic Four run. This is the first appearance of the Watcher, but it basically is set up through a story where the Fantastic Four want to finally get to the moon. They want to be the first people on the moon. So they take off in their rocket ship and they land on the moon on the blue area for the first time. They're followed by the evil Soviet, the Red Ghost, who creates his super apes, which is kind of like a weird Silver Agey thing, I won't lie. But in this particular issue, it works. But I just love this issue so much because it's the Fantastic Four going to an alien planet. They're the only ones there except them and the Watcher and the Red Ghost. And the Watcher puts the Red Ghost and his super apes versus the Fantastic Four to see which part of humanity he wants to hang out with. And obviously the Fantastic Four is victorious, so they become pals. But I think the Watcher knew that was going to happen because he's been watching. You know, he knew. But this is Stan and Jack, again, at their bombastic, at their exciting, at their cosmic and space agey. And so it's only one issue. It's standalone, but it's a great one. Fantastic Four, number 13. Chad?
Okay, and so we talked about all the different experiences and all the different ways you could experience this particular story, The Coming of Galactus. I'm going to stick with the Stan and Jack tip. I'm going to go with a different experience. This is a book that came out a few years ago. It's from our friends at Abrams Comic Arts. It's Fantastic Four #1, panel by panel. And what they do is they take Fantastic Four #1, and Chip Kidd and Jeffrey Spear take the Stan and Jack art, and they blow it up. So for each panel is its own page or 2-page spread. And so you can read issue #1 as though it were full-length novel with all the work blown up. And they're working with scans from the original comic book, so you get the yellowed pages, you get the traditional coloring, but it's, like I said, it's blown up, it's cleaned up so that it's readable at that size. And it's such a wild experience, and it's such an artful process. You know, sometimes you forget in the pop art sensibilities of these comics, they are art. And this is such a cool, slick way to experience this issue. And then once you're done with the book, in the very end, they go through what their process was like. You see the page by page, what the original page presentations were, and they give you a full page reprint of the book as well. Just a fascinating experience all around. If you're a comic fan, if you love Silver Age comics, you owe it to yourself to see the Silver Age book through the eyes of Chip Kidd and company and their production values. They just recently released a Spider-Man one, which I haven't tracked down yet, but I plan to. It's Fantastic Four #1, panel by panel, out of Abrams Comic Arts. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I got to check that out. I've been meaning to for a long time. So great recommendations, but we know what everybody's here for. It's the Fantastic Four movie review. We are going to see it during this commercial break, and then we will be right back with our review. Will it be the same as 48, 49, 50? We'll see. Stay tuned.
The commercial break will only be 30 seconds. The movie a little bit longer. Just letting you know that you don't have to wait 2 hours through commercials while we watch this.
That's a lot of BCW ads.
LastComicShopPodcast.com is the destination for all things shop. Plan your week with upcoming show schedules, the latest books, recommendations, and chatter from the crew. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms from one convenient location. Show your support and browse the merch store. T-shirts, tanks, hoodies for the fam, coffee mugs, magnets, totes, and more. Check out exclusive content through the show's YouTube channel and follow the pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and others. All this and so much more at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com. www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
When you're done listening to this podcast, check out mine. My name is Dave, and I'm the host of Beer in Front. My podcast is just enjoying the beer that's in front of you. Sometimes we forget about a classic beer while we focus on the new trendy thing. What I try to do each week is to enjoy an old school classic or have a beer that has potential to be a classic. I'll also talk about events of the day, I'll add my spin to things, and each week there are people that really annoy me, and I'll call them out as the jag-off of the week. That's Beer in Front, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for our movie review. Yes, you've been waiting for it with bated breath. It is the Fantastic Four First Steps, and welcoming back to our show, it's our Invisible Woman. That's right. If you thought that Nicole was just going to be on the first segment, you are wrong, because I made her go see this movie with me.
I'm back.
That's right. And will you do some more of that sweet Watcher voice? Because that was my favorite part.
I don't remember how I did it. I don't know.
It sounded like Miss Piggy. Leave my world, pillager of planets.
Kermit! You reminded me of the guy.
Why are you doing this, Kermit?
I don't know if I can replicate it. It was all in the moment.
Well, one thing that took several moments was this week's movie, and lots of folks were starring and directing and writing and doing all that jazz for those moments. Jay Scott's going to fill us in on everybody that worked on Fantastic Four First Steps. So take it away, sir.
Okay, so Fantastic Four First Steps out of Marvel Studios was directed by Matt Shackman on a screenplay from Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, and Ian Springer. And it is, of course, based on the Fantastic Four, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and starred someone who has done nothing for the last couple of years, Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Ebon Moss-Baccarat as Ben Grimm, and Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. And then a CGI thing played the baby for most of it, I'm pretty sure, though maybe they had a little baby play the baby for a bit. I don't know.
True.
They don't get it right up in Wikipedia.
From the moment it was born.
Now, again, real quickly, before he goes into the rest of the cast, because there were some other folks that played in this cast. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Fantastic Four First Steps and don't know that Galactus is in this GD movie, well, here you go. J.A., who played Galactus?
Ralph Ineson did the voice of Galactus. Julia Garner played Shala Ball, Silver Surfer. Paul Walter Hauser as the Mole Man, because that was kind of cool.
He was great.
And you had Natasha Lyonne playing a school teacher, and Ben Grimm's love interest. That's
her voice was kind of gravelly.
Yeah,
she fits with the thing.
That's true. And I will say, I think the love interest, wasn't her name Roz, like Jack Kirby's wife? Roz?
Rachel Rosman.
Yes.
And Matthew Wood did the voice of Herbie.
Jay, did you mention the lady from Ted Lasso? The psychologist from Ted Lasso?
Yes. Sarah Niles as Lynn Nichols, the CEO of the Future Foundation.
There you go.
The whole time she was on the screen, I was like, that's that girl from Ted Lasso.
Be careful. Don't go out on your bicycle.
All right. Well, for those folks that might have listened to the previous segment, we mentioned that probably this movie was going to be the same as the Coming of Galactus story that we just reviewed. But was it? We got Chad Smith with the 10-cent synopsis. So what actually happened in Fantastic Four First Steps?
Okay, so it's important to lay down. This is set in an alternate Earth, 828.
28, off of Kirby's birthday.
Yeah, but it is a retro-futuristic Earth where it's 60s style with some modern technology. The FF has been FFing about for around 4 years. By the time we meet them here in the story, and there's a big announcement. Sue is Prego. It's very exciting. Almost as exciting as the alert they get that brings the Silver Surfer, spoiler, Shalabal, who is heralding the coming of Galactus. And so the Fantastic Four go to meet Galactus head on and try to work things out. And Galactus says, I'll make you a deal. I won't eat Earth, but you got to give me that kiddo of yours who has, with the power cosmic, who can take away my hunger and free me of this. And Sue and Reed look at each other, and like any good parents, they say, No! You're not getting our kid! And so they go back to Earth and they tell everybody, like, yeah, we could have saved the Earth, but we're not giving up our kid. And people, they were not as understanding as you might expect. And so after that, they have to concoct a plan. There's little flashbacks to fighting the Red Ghost and his ape men. There is a really awesome Mole Man by Paul Hauser, and all other sorts of fun in tow. So there you go. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's a perfectly good 10-cent synopsis. I think the major difference with the book versus the movie was, again, first off, how strong they made Sue Richards, which, again, is more in line with what they do with Sue nowadays, being the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four. That was on full display in this movie versus the comic book, in which she still was just like, Reed, what are we going to do? Grab the ultimate nullifier. I'll stand over here. So I wanted to bring in our own Invisible Woman, Nicole Larson, to talk about her initial thoughts, the Fantastic Four. Now, the Fantastic Four was one of the first comic books you ever read, right?
Fantastic Four was one of the first comics you coerced me into reading. Yes, yes it was.
He went full read on you.
I remember watching Red Sox games in your childhood bedroom and reading Fantastic Four to try to appease you. But I did like it. It's not bad. To be honest, I was not particularly looking forward to this movie. I don't know. I felt like the trailers just felt cheesy, and I was like, oh, this is going to be dumb. And it was much better than anticipated, I would say. I felt it flowed well. It didn't. Some of the Marvel movies start to drag out a little bit, and this kind of moved right along, kept its pace well. And ultimately, as you just alluded to, the triumph was the power of a mother's love. Nothing stronger than that, fellas. Nothing stronger than that.
Yeah, don't mess with Mama Bear.
Don't mess with the mama bears.
That's right.
And then, how sweet. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We think Sue dies, but then she doesn't because her child saves her right back.
Yes.
And isn't that the truth? Parenthood's hard, but ultimately it's the children that they save you too.
Oh, so that's a metaphor.
So, for anyone counting, in the 4 Fantastic Four movies we've had, because the Corman one doesn't count, even though they were in the movie, all 4 of the Fantastic Four from the Roger Corman movie got roles in this movie. I digress. Sue has died in 2 of the 4 movies and then been brought back.
Yeah.
Because she died in the Galactus Silver Surfer, Rise of the Silver Surfer Fantastic
Four. The Cloud
Four
Galactus.
Yes, Cloud Galactus one, where she took a spear to the chest and then Silver Surfer brought her back.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? Silver Surfer, also mother's love, right? Sacrificed herself to save her family / planet. And ultimately, again, spoiler alert, saves the Earth too, right? Again, that sacrificial power of women, right? Can't be underestimated.
Right.
It's interesting that you commented about the comics kind of making Sue a little ditzy and whatever, because they played on that with Johnny in this one, right? Like he was kind of the cast aside, he doesn't have anything valuable to add. And then ultimately he's the one who ended up, deciphering Silver Surfer's language and all of that stuff. So it's kind of interesting that they played on that. The only thing is I didn't like his blonde hair, and I don't know why. It just didn't match his face.
Oh, man. That's my first gripe about this movie. I didn't like anybody's hair. I didn't like Sue's hair. Her hair was too millennial. I didn't like the Silver Surfer with hair. That didn't look right to me, because sometimes it's flipping up at the back, and that was weird. And the Thing had facial hair, and I didn't like that. And I didn't like Johnny's hair. And Pedro Pascal's okay, but he had that mustache. Whoever's on hair duty in this movie, I did not agree.
And you can't blame it on the time period, because all of the background, people in the city and stuff with the 60s style hair, it was done very well. I don't know what was wrong with Johnny's hair. I don't know if it didn't match his coloring or his eyebrows. It just seemed really fake.
I didn't like the sweaters.
I love that. That was I liked that it wasn't these leather like uniforms or something. They were definitely going for an aesthetic, and I think didn't have the sort of house MCU style, which I think everyone is bored and sick of right now. And space looked so much better. It wasn't, the Guardians of the Galaxy overcrowded with stuff. It looked majestic. It looked like you didn't know what was going on out there. It looked like Interstellar. They probably stole that math formula that they used to build the black hole for Interstellar, because the black hole Galactus thing looked exactly like Interstellar.
Sure. And I think that's going to be my initial thought. I mean, I love this movie. Of the Fantastic Four movies we've got, I think this kind of nailed what I think the Fantastic Four needs to be. You know, not only did everybody get a great part in this, like no member of the Fantastic Four, I think, was overshadowed or underscored. Like they all had a part to play. Reed did not come off as a jerk, which was awesome. That's really hard to do. You know, there's that moment when he's talking with Franklin and he's like, look, I struggle with a lot of things. There's a lot of things I don't understand, kind of skating around the fact that he might not understand emotions as well as other folks. And Sue, the Thing got a lot to do. Johnny Storm was integral. So again, they were a family and they were a great team. So that was awesome, number one. And number two, they were ambassadors, which I mentioned before. That's my favorite time when the Fantastic Four are either ambassadors and explorers. And they got to do both of those things in this movie. They just didn't get to punch the bad guys, although at the end of the day, Sue punched a bad guy into a black hole. The other initial thought that I had is I really genuinely enjoyed the Shalla version of Silver Surfer. This little tete-a-tete love affair thing between the Silver Surfer and Johnny Storm. Kudos! I liked it!
I don't know that I did, sir. I don't know that I did. This is not the Fantastic Four. This was it's fine. It's fine, Four. They're all right. Mr. Fantastic was more Mr. So-so. PlayStation 5 Galactus was all right, but I think I had built this movie up a little too much in my head. And so I have a couple of bones, and you guys will have to let me know whether or not I'm being too nitpicky. Number one, while I didn't have any issues with any of the individual actors, I didn't feel like they had much chemistry together at all. Ben and Johnny occasionally, it was fun to see them interact a little bit, but I just felt like so much of this movie was, let's get a nice surface level shine on things, you know, that retro future look to it. It just wasn't enough for me in any respect. Like the connections with the characters weren't there. All the characters, like I mentioned with the hair, they were all just a little bit off from what they were supposed to be in my mind. Whether it's Thing with a beard, who doesn't say it's clobbering time until the end, they make you wait for that, which my theater cheered when he finally did say it. The Sue Storm, the ambassador, that part was cool when she was bringing the Earth together even before all the Galactus stuff. But so much of that just seemed really easy and fast. Johnny as a linguist? Like, I don't think I've ever seen Johnny use his brain power in that capacity before. That seemed a little bit beyond Johnny Storm. That's a Reed thing, not a Johnny thing in my mind. I didn't mind the Silver Surfer. I thought Shalla Surfer was cool. And as Nicole alluded to, the mother themes of the story definitely play into the Shalla role. But yeah, man, I can't stop comparing it in my head to Superman, where they made all these different little tweaks in ways that got me excited and got me interested. Here, they just made an okay movie. I'm not super excited about seeing these characters moving forward. I'm actually, now that I've seen this, I'm really down on the MCU and where it's going, because it's frankly, it's just not all that impressive.
Well, I'm not as dour on it as you. I think it works really well as a standalone movie, unlike the other MCU outings that they've put out in the recent past. You didn't have to have watched 10 different movies to understand what was going on or who these characters are. So I thought that was done really well. One thing I think they actually did better than the Superman movie was the intro, where they tell you all about the Fantastic Four in a newsreel, where James Gunn made you read like a novel.
No, that was fun. The little opening shot.
Yeah, I thought the opening was handled really well. I didn't mind the Shalla Silver Surfer. I just wanted more of her. The ending where she pushes Galactus and she makes the switch, I think they cut a bunch of stuff to get the movie down, because it was very quick, right? It's less than 2 hours, which was another good thing for it. I like it. Wasn't one of these long, unending movies, but I think to get to that point, they cut some scenes probably scenes between Johnny and the Silver Surfer, or the Silver Surfer and Galactus, or the Silver Surfer doing something to have her, because it seemed like all he had to say was, these are all the people complaining that you killed them, and then she flies away, and then she comes back and she's changed. But you don't see that change. That happens off screen. And being such a big Silver Surfer fan, I know that we're not going to get another Silver Surfer. And I have 2 movies, and they both had some Silver Surfer scenes in them that we can enjoy. And as a Silver Surfer fan, I think I mentioned this to you guys before you'd seen it. I really liked how they had her surfing the spaceways, literally surfing.
Yeah.
I thought
that was cool.
And Johnny Storm, questioning whether the board was part of her or not, or was it separate? So
yeah, that Johnny Storm I get, the guy with one question that he's going back and fixating on. Like that, that tracked.
I do want to jump in on the whole notion of Johnny Storm being like, oh, that's not the Johnny Storm. He's kind of a dummy. Like, what I really love is during the newsreel portion when they're talking about the Fantastic Four, they didn't say like, I'm Reed Richards and all of a sudden I'm going into space with Ben Grimm, who's like one of the best pilots in the world, and then like, I'm just happening to bring my girlfriend and her kid brother. I think they made this out to be that those 4 people were genuinely some of the smartest, most capable people on the planet. I mean, again, maybe
that's what Reed said, though, because it's also a Hollywood movie, so nepotism runs strong in those.
Well, I'm just saying that in this particular universe, we're getting a much more capable, intelligent Sue Storm from the start and Johnny Storm, that these are genuinely some of the best of humanity, and that is why they're a part of this group. So I'm going to give it a pass on that. I feel like you just get a Johnny Storm that's actually intelligent.
Well, it's not that Johnny's dumb in the comics. Like he's mechanical in nature. Like he's the guy that's working on cars. Like I feel like if you gave him a problem to solve that's in his skill set, it would have seemed a lot more natural. It seemed above his pay grade.
I was actually going to, now that Chad brought it up, I can see the point. And interestingly, my first thought was that, who kind of did hold that family together was Herbie.
There you go.
Don't you think? Like, I loved Herbie.
Yeah,
like, it was
Herbie was charming,
an integral part. And if anything, like, he did kind of tie them. But, I can see the chemistry. And I think that's maybe where, like I said, the trailer, like it just something seemed off and like hokey and cheesy to me. And maybe it was like the characters were random, put together. Like they certainly could have played up the brother-sister aspect of it more. Like here she's dying and he's like crying, but like he's not like rushing to like give her CPR or anything either,
Well, to Chad's one point, I'm going to concede. I came out of that movie theater and I said to Nicole, I don't think The Thing had enough to do. And maybe that was my biggest problem with some of the chemistry that we had here. I hate to say it, I like my Thing to be over the top. He was a much more subdued Thing in this. He was a more strong, silent type Thing. And although he doesn't want to say it's clobbering time, that's kind of the Thing I need. Like, that's where the heart comes of the Fantastic Four. That's where the soul comes from. That's where the never say die attitude of the Fantastic Four comes from. I don't think we got a Thing in this movie that really portrayed that. Again, he was just a guy that liked to cook, and he had one really good moment with Reed where they were talking about how he failed his driving test. I thought that was a neat little scene between the two of them when he was talking about being a dad. And there were good scenes when he was like actually the guy that was reading all the parenting books. That feels like a Ben Grimm kind of thing to do. But I miss the bombastic thing that really needed to be there to make this group work.
We also didn't really get a tortured Thing where, all the other ones have cool superpowers and my superpowers turn me into a giant granite rock monster.
Right, and I have a lot of criticism of this movie, but I should go back and preface that by saying, or not preface, hostess? What do you call it whenever it's afterwards? I thought it was good enough. I just didn't think it was great, and I needed this movie to be great. So, like, a lot of my criticisms I recognize are nitpicky, but all the changes that they made, I feel like there were people sitting in a room, and they're like, yeah, let's make Silver Surfer a girl. Like, okay, like, that one kind of works. Like, yeah, let's give the Thing a beard. Like, okay, why are you doing that?
the beard was out, and it did make sense. The power was out. He couldn't shave.
Yeah.
For a day! A day! He had a full-grown beard in a day! Doesn't make any goddamn sense.
But it makes you.
Sure
It did send my mind down a road that I'd never thought of in my 40-some years of reading Fantastic Four. I had never thought about the biology of the thing, and then I found myself. What happens when he eats? How does he go to the bathroom? Does it come out as rocks? What if he has to pee? And these are questions that I don't think you're meant to ask about the thing. I don't know.
But I will say, I do feel like some of these decisions, to your point, Chad, were made to make necessary narrative shortcuts to make it, as J.A. pointed out, under 2 hours. They didn't have an Alicia Masters character. So who's Norrin Rad supposed to talk to, right? So you make this narrative shortcut of, all right, we'll make it Shia LaBeouf and we'll have him talk to Human Torch. Therefore, we don't have to introduce a brand new character and give them a lot of screen time. Give Human Torch a little bit more screen time. I think there was some of those shortcuts that they made in this movie. I wanted to see Diablo. I wanted to see the Mad Thinker. Why didn't they show up? We got to see Mole Man, and that was awesome. And we didn't even get to see anybody from Latveria. I was like, whatever. Let's get to ratings. Jay, what's our rating scale for Fantastic Four First Steps?
All right, so our rating is going to be 1 out of 4 knit sweaters.
I like the sweaters
I don't like the sweaters.
Why did Mr. Fantastic, why did he have a blue collar and everybody else had a white collar? Why didn't he have a white collar? Is it because he's the leader?
Yeah, everyone else had the white on blue. And it wasn't so much knit, it was almost like a quilted.
I don't know. It's like Norm Macdonald and his that classic, you can be the Human Torch because you're on fire. You can be the Thing because you're Rocky and Thing-like. You can be the Invisible Woman because you're invisible. And I will be Mr. Fantastic because I stretch. Hey, what? Whatever, dude. I get to have a blue collar because I'm the dude. Like, I don't know. It just looks uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to wear a sweater if I was a superheroing.
I don't know. If you're, off Cape Hatteras or you're by your boat and you're yachting around, you can superhero.
I'm going to start off with Chad. He seemed to be the most critical of it. What's the ultimate rating, Chad?
Knit sweaters. I've got knit picks. And I recognize that. I feel like my issues with this film are more based on my expectations of it and the fact that I was propping it up against the Superman movie, which Superman won my heart, and that's the real punk rock. This movie didn't have any scenes that I need to go back and watch that again. Oh, that was really memorable when they did that. It was just fine. It wasn't fantastic. It was fine. I'm going to give it a generous 3. I think
higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and honestly, the more I talk about it, the more disappointed I am with the movie. It's not what I wanted. It's not something that's going to get me excited about the MCU moving forward. It's not going to give me something to care about these characters. It's not going to give me something that, I'm going to tell my friends about. Oh, I really got to see this. Oh, I got to do that. Mole Man. Mole Man was the best part of this movie. It's not fantastic. It's Mole Man. So 3 knit sweaters.
What Chad is saying is that it was sufficient for 2 hours of entertainment and nothing more.
Well, let's continue with you. Do you agree with them or you disagree? What's your rating?
Well,
Nicole?
the problem is I'm not into all this stuff as much as you guys, right? So all of the MCU movies to me at some points are draining, right? So, this is like reading books, right? You have your serious books, your huge trilogies and Lord of the Ring-esque type of books. And then sometimes you need a little beach read, little smutty thing. And this is the beach read, right? I think it's simple, it's easy, it's not, going to go down in history as the best thing ever. It's not going to win awards, it's not going to whatever, but, it entertained me for a couple hours. I almost didn't fall asleep. I don't think it deserves a 4 or anything like that, so I would say a solid 3 is probably right on par.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree with that. I think a 3 is just fine. I'm going to prop mine up by saying that, again, there was a lot of aspects that I liked about this movie, but for me, it was a Fantastic 3 movie. I mean, Herbie, I guess, counts as another one. Plus, I don't know, Franklin was kind of cool. I always love the connection between Franklin Richards and Galactus. That, in the real 616, that eventually Galactus becomes Franklin's herald. because he has this ability to change universes, and he's so powerful. And I do genuinely think that Galactus looked awesome. PlayStation 5 stuff aside, it was neat to see Galactus not be a big swarm of bees. Let's just say that. It was neat to see old Antlerhead walking down the street, like leaning up against buildings, being the Jack Kirby Galactus that I've loved for decades. So, but this isn't a 4 because I don't think I got a good thing. I'm going to double down on it. I didn't want to say it to the start, but I do not think that this was the proper casting for Thing.
Casting or writing?
Casting. Michael Chiklis, perfect casting. That's a Thing. Strong, gruff, ready to take a stand, ready to be, again, not the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, but the guy that's like, like, you're not messing with us. I'm going to be the first person to step up to say you're not messing with us. And I just don't think you got that kind of energy from this Thing. And that is truly an integral part of all these connections and what plays off of everything else. I think that's what maybe when Chad was saying about the connections with chemistry, maybe that was the missing piece, is not having a dynamic front man in the Thing. But Pedro Pascal was an excellent Reed Richards. And if he's going to be the face and the leader of the MCU going forward, him and Sue, I think at least, and from that perspective, they're in good hands because they played the mom and dad of the MCU really, really well. So 3. J.A., finish us off.
Yeah, it's a 3 for me as well. I don't know. I mean, Pedro Pascal can act his way out of a paper bag. That man has got some talent. The fact that he does it all with a mustache just proves how much talent he has. But I'm wondering when he's going to pull the Tom Selleck and shave, and everyone will no longer recognize him.
Now, Mr. Fantastic grows a beard. The Thing doesn't grow a beard.
You and Andrew are, both of you are too hung up on the Thing. Like he's the most important character. He is not the most important character. The most important character finally got some screen time, and that is the Invisible Woman. She had to put up with a couple of decades of bad writing to get to that point, but yeah, it's a 3. It was a nice standalone movie. The set design and the aesthetic, it was nice to watch a Marvel movie that didn't look like every other freaking Marvel movie. It wasn't playing with the same sort of house style. Maybe people aren't sick of superhero movies. They're just sick of that kind of superhero movie, that look for a superhero movie. If you look at the Superman movie that came out, also, they switched the style up a bit. It was just a little bit better on that respect. So Nicole said it's not going to win any awards. It did set a Guinness Book of World Records, though. Chad's not going to be happy about it, but it set one for the largest popcorn container.
Why? Why do you poke the bear? I'm
not poking the bear. I'm poking the Galactus. I
thought that they would have more. I didn't know they only had 6.
That Galactus bucket does look cool. Do I have one? No. But it does look cool with the light up eyes and the $80 price tag. Yeah, could I have Galactus peering over my shoulder?
The 9 liters of popcorn it can hold.
Wow. It's a lot of liters.
I thought that they had more. I'm sorry, Chad. I'm sorry. And if you want to know why I'm sorry, make sure that you're listening to more Last Comic Shop episodes. We'll probably talk about this in future.
For years to come.
Let it go.
For years to come, Andy.
Rate, review, and subscribe over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com so you can hear me apologize to Chad until the end of time about how I dropped the ball on getting him a Galactus popcorn bucket. But we hope that you also make sure that you're sticking around. We've got plenty of more episodes for the rest of the summer, as well as the rest of 2025 into 2026. I mean, again, we're already starting to look at what movies might be next year. You got Spider-Man, you got maybe Avengers Doomsday. They've already pushed that back from the summertime to now a December release. Now it's just a Lindbergh baby story, right? That's the whole thing. It's like Dr. Doom shows up and steals Franklin, right? That's where they're going with this, and then brings him to the MCU universe, and that's why the Fantastic Four have to follow. It makes sense to me. But again, stick around to the Last Comic Shop. We'll probably be reviewing those movies next year.
And while we might be the Last Comic Shop podcast, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop. So we encourage everybody to get out there and check out those awesome Fantastic Four stories over the years, including the original Coming of Galactus, which you can find in a myriad of formats at your comic shop, as well as the Silver Surfer graphic novel from 1978. You might have to dig for that one, but it's worth it. The last Stan and Jack collab, I believe. FF13 was something else that was on our recommendation list.
The Super Apes!
Super
Apes. Go see the Super Apes. They were talking about it. You want to see the gorilla, the orangutan thing? Read that story. That's great.
There you go. And FF number 1, panel by panel, with that Chip Kid aesthetic. And I will say, I'm going to end my little portion here with some compliments. In addition to the Fantastic Four aesthetic, which I thought was cool, I also thought that this movie tried to course correct a little bit in terms of respect for comic book creators, whether it was the references to the Excelsior as the ship or the Jack Kirby quote at the end. I've been ragging on Marvel a little bit recently for not respecting comic creators as much, and it felt like they were trying to correct course there. You know, and so much of this movie was comic booky in nature. You know, just like Superman, like we've gone full circle. Movies have embraced comic books as a thing. So that part's nice. I mean, not fantastic. It was so-so. It's fine. It's just fine. A fine 4 movie. It's fine.
But you know what is fantastic? First off, our merch store. J.A., let everybody know what they can find out there.
T-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, baseball hats, cable knit sweaters this week. Special. That's right. Do you want our logo embroidered onto the cable knit sweater? Perfect for your yachting experience off Long Island.
And also, fantastically, you can save money on all your comic book supplies. Nicole, tell them how everybody can do that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you're looking for some long boxes or maybe a giant sign to put in your basement. Buy your long boxes. Don't know if they have that or not. But anyhow, you can grab all of your comic book related collecting supplies at bcwsupplies.com. And if you are cool enough to use the promo code LCSPOD, you can get a little discount, and it'll help support the Last Comic Shop podcast.
That's right, 10%. Save yourself some cash on that stuff you are going to be buying anyways. And until next week, I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith, J.A. Scott, and the wonderful Nicole Larson. And we hope that you stay safe. Stay fantastic. That's right. Don't stay fine. Don't listen to Chad. Stay fantastic. Unless you're the Thing, then you have to stay clobbering. That's right. Finally, you said it, but he didn't yell it. He needs to yell that some. There's a battle cry, not a. It's clobbering, I guess.
It wasn't very.
Just send in Mole Man. He'll make it better. Fucking Mole Man.
Mole Man kind of did save the city.
Was a 2025 Black Angus production.